Hello. Good
Hey,
good
can you hear me?
afternoon. Good evening. Yeah. Yeah, Mudhu.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So let me start. Folks, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. This is Girish and Mudhu. We are so excited to be here talking to you about artificial intelligence in enterprises. Quick way of introduction. I'm Girish Muckai. I have been in the tech industry for the past 25 years. And for many years working on AI fields in many areas. And I'm absolutely delighted to have Mudhu Sudhakar who's joining me. He is a Silicon Valley success story in every way possible. He has built and developed a number of companies that have been bought by large corporations here, and he continues to do that journey. In addition, he also is an investor, serves on the boards of many companies, and still taking Silicon Valley to another level as well. So today, what we will do is we're going to present each of us for about 25 minutes, and after 50 minutes, we will answer any questions that you may have sent, and we want to make sure that this is informative for you, and also good feedback for us, and a good discussion topic that we can hear from you. So without further ado, Mudhu, go for it.
Hey, Girish. Good evening, folks. Thank you for introducing me. Excited to be part of this webinar with BrightTALK and Girish. Again, my name is Mudhu Sudhakar, and the topic today that hopefully we can delight you and excite you in what's happening in the industry, particularly in enterprise segment. So most of what we are going to discuss is about how enterprise is being evolving, and with various disruptions that have happened over the years. And the new disruption in the market right now is the AI and machine learning. How AI and machine learning is changing the experience as a playbook for enterprise and for enterprise IT. That includes cloud, DevOps, and SaaS industries. And where does the AI plays as a role, with the angle being experience. And that's where I'm going to focus on. And Girish will continue to take this to the next level, which give you further details on not only experience, but where AI will impact on the DevOps and IT operations as well. So with this, so the number one thing that's going on, as you look, AI is actually, I believe, it's going to drive the fourth industrial revolution. We have already seen 3 industrial revolutions. This is going to be the 4th one. And it's not going to be a 5-year thing. It's really a 10, 20, 30-year journey that AI is going to impact all industries. And it's not just the IT industry. Every business, every enterprise, every organization must and will embrace AI and machine learning at its core. AI will not be on the tangential. It's not some small features here and there. Every business which can take advantage of the AI and machine learning will drive it. According to McKinsey, AI could log anywhere between 1.4 to 2.6 trillion in value, just in marketing and sales alone. So imagine the potential and the value creation that can happen to shareholders, employees. It can be to all the users, consumers. So it's across the board. I'm very excited with what's the impact and the bright futures that AI is going to present in the era of the machine learning and AI that's about to come as a 4th industrial revolution. So let's give you a few examples here. We have seen it in our own eyes in 2019 now, where experience is really driving the enterprise IT. You have seen 2 big IPOs that really impacted and extremely well. One is Zoom, that you have seen it, and Slack. Both of them went IPO on the order of around $20 billion. These are all companies built on experience. These are not companies that are built on just enterprise value. They're built on experience. That makes it very interesting. Right? So Slack and Zoom have taken the enterprise IT to the next level. Now, if you see to drive this, before Slack and Zoom came in, what has driven this? The rise of the FANG. If you look at the FANG stocks, your Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, all these companies have taken AI at its core. From early days of Google AdWords that Google has taken back in 98, 99, and Amazon has taken with personalization. All these companies have taken to the next level. So that I call it democratization and proliferation of consumer services has to happen with AI and machine learning at its core. They're all taking advantage at various levels, but there's a massive shift that people have enjoyed this. Consumers have enjoyed it, all of us. at home, as a users of these services. And some of us enjoyed it, some of us had our own pitfalls. But this revolution and evolution has really taken over in the last, whatever, call it 20 years. And that is actually driving adoption in enterprise as well. So what happened in the consumer industry is going to spill over to enterprise to drive this AI and machine learning and the benefits of those in all shapes and forms in enterprise. I call it, there's a new stack is evolving it here. I call it AI ETF stack in the companies of AI experience area, like analogous to FANG stock and Watch. Watch is under stock, stands for your Walmart and Amazon, Target, Costco, and Home Depot. If you look at the retail stock and FANG stocks, like there's a new ticker symbol that I'm looking at. It's called SAS, standing for Slack, Atlassian, Isra, and ServiceNow. These companies are going to drive experience for your enterprise users, employees, and consumers to drive and enjoy consumer services, what you have done in the enterprise scale, right? That you'll get the benefits of consumer services and those at enterprise and get the experience of what you enjoyed at the consumer level for the enterprise. Now, if you look at the stack, how is it evolving? It's actually evolving. Good things always happen in simple manner. That's my belief. So if you look at the stack that's evolved, if you take the famous three-layer architecture stack, the three-layer architecture stack here is evolving into from a simple SaaS application, which used to be system of record, into a layer that has evolved called system of intelligence, purely driven with AI and ML. There's no analytics, there's no big data. Big data is not even a magic quadrant by Gartner anymore. Most of analytics and business intelligence is already kind of went away. Analytics is kind of expected out of every application. It's a feature. It's not a product anymore. You don't acquire analytics anymore. Analytics is built into every product, every shape. Same thing is business intelligence. So the next layer is actually system of intelligence. I call this is your decision engine layer. Can you use the data to make decisions? Whether the decisions are done at a micro level, macro level, whether they are guided decisions, those are automated. There's a new layer that's evolved called system of intelligence. The final thing that's making this to drive solutions at experience called system of experience. If experience is a new mantra, there's new level of experience that are going to drive this, and these will be in a conversational manner. And they'll be both for the back office, from supply chain, trading application to the front office, whether that is for banking applications to customer service, for IT operations. Anywhere you see the IT and enterprise, the new experience has to be added in front of all the SaaS applications, or any enterprise application, or any cloud applications. So all experience will start with the top layer being system of experience, system of intelligence, which drives your decision making, and then becomes the system of record, which is your, think of your client server stack, where you have your database, your app tier, your web tier. Those are at the level of system of record. But there are two other layers that are added. That will be the front facing to users and consumers. That is driving the SaaS adoption. Now, if you take this to the next level, what every businesses are doing, as I said, most businesses, or actually all businesses, according to Gartner 2020, 20% of all businesses will be algorithmic driven. I mean, that's even more a very provocative way of thinking what Gartner is saying. So it's not just saying that I want to be an enterprise using AI and ML. They're saying that every business has to be algorithmic driven. That means every business at its core, it will be like your Amazon, Google, Uber. They're going to drive algorithm, it will be at its core. The core is not going to be driven with rules, with human decision making, etc. Humans will help us build these algorithms, but most of these enterprises will be autonomous enterprise, algorithmic enterprise. They're also saying that Gartner is saying that 20% of all business content will be generated by algorithms and interactions, right? So 220 is just 1 year away. So we have to see a major shift in the market to reach this level. Whether it's going to happen in 2020, 21, it's less about the date when it's going to happen, but the trend direction is businesses are becoming algorithmic businesses. That's very exciting. That creates a lot of opportunity and change and also innovation in the marketplace. Now, what are these businesses are? For example, of who is in algorithmic business, look at the trading. I call it algo trading, whether that is hedge fund trading, high frequency trading. Wall Street already adopted this for 10 years or more. And that's like the de facto standard. Most of that account trading, whether it's for 401k, for your wealth management, your stock accounts, bond accounts, most of it is driven algo trading today. Cars, hopefully in our lifetime, whether it's going to happen in 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, some level of autonomous cars are going to happen. Whether it will be level 4, level 5, level 3, that may change, whether the adoption of autonomous cars is going to happen at some shape or form. We have seen already the personalization of ad technology. Thanks to Google, Amazon, Facebook, they have taken that to the next level. So we are already seeing three large segments which are highly business-oriented became algorithmic business-oriented. So what else is happening and where else should happen? Now if you go to the enterprise, that's the topic of this presentation. If you look at here at the cloud and IT and DevOps, yet these things are still driven with very much manual. We have DevOps people doing things manually, maintaining the clusters, doing the site reliability. You have IT operations people taking dashboards and screenshots, looking at the waveforms, metric, doing time series analysis, doing alert aggregation. Yes, there are tools out there, but the tools are doing enough to give it to human to make a decision. It's very manual, very people-driven. It lacks full autonomous like the driverless cars are doing, or autonomous cars. Why? Why is that cannot happen? So that's where I want all of you guys and all of us to think and say, look, what innovation should happen here? Where can we make bets here? What should we do as an industry and as a audience and as a group to see how we can make more investments here to drive the adoption? So to that extent, that it has to start from the CIOs. The leaders of all the CIOs have to make bets. Today, most CIOs are not making that many bets on AML. Everybody is doing bare minimum to require to see I'm putting my appetite enough to see if I'm putting my finger in the toe into the waters to see if AML is working or not. That's not what it is. CIOs have to go all in every shape and form, from starting from IT operations, DevOps, your SaaS applications, in cloud, service industry. Go all in to improve the experience of their employees, their consumers and users who are going to buy their services. Now, if you look at where else we have seen AI that's working with the disruptive solutions, right? For AI to work, first of all, you need to have ground truth. I always tell AI is not the solution for everything. Maybe it doesn't work in some applications. Maybe it will not be working for some use cases. Maybe it's suboptimal in some use cases. So where can we apply the best examples and where it can get the maximum return of investment? For that, find a solution where the data has the ground truth. The key is it's not the algorithm, it's not the AI, it's not the business. Do you have enough data where you can capture from the data the signal that algorithm can benefit? If the data does not have the ground truth, even though you have lots of data, it's not the size of the data, it's not the amount of the data, it is not the variability of the data. Does the data have ground truth that AI can make decisions? If not, it has to be continuously be a qualitative decision making with the humans involved. If you want algorithms to do it, they've got to have enough signal in the data that algorithms can leverage. And wherever it lacks, the data can be what I call annotated in a non-time consuming manner. If you sit there and label all the data and you do feature extraction manually, that is not going to be a scalable model. You're going to be constantly getting suboptimal results. So not only you need to have ground truth, data needs to be highly automatable in terms of annotation and labeling. Now, if you look at from that perspective, where applicable the ground truth, you take autonomous driving. It's a great example of having maps and roads, etc. There's enough signal for cars and algorithms to take advantage of them. Same thing with computer vision. Same thing with trading. There's the trading data available on daily basis, hourly basis. Same thing is there for customer service and support. Same thing for cloud and DevOps. There are enough alerts, events, operations data to customer support, tickets. These areas are highly good applying with ground truth. Where it's not going to work or hasn't worked so far, I think something is cybersecurity. Right? Cybersecurity is an area where AI is still going to be anomaly detection. Too many false positives. Not too many. 99% is false positives. Very hard to find signal there. Same thing with sales and CRM and marketing. The false positive ratios will outweigh the actual benefit. That's why you are seeing in those applications, AI is not making that much impact because there's not enough ground truth to derive the signal. Right? Now, if you look at, given all these things, what is the CEOs of the large companies and small companies doing? If you're a CEO of any company, you want your enterprise to be autonomous enterprise. You want the decision making to be as much self-service. You want your consumers and users to get great experience, and you want to cut your costs. So most CEOs, when they wake up, they want to see how they can automate their entire enterprise. Maybe parts of the enterprise. Maybe they'll start 10% in the beginning to reach the 80%, 90%. But the goal of every CEO right now is, I want to improve the experience. I want it to be self-service. All my divisions should be doing that. And I want to cut my costs. Right? Any growth business, any large to small business are focused on making their enterprises to be autonomous. That is the goal the CEOs have. That means as the IT leaders or as the CTOs, as the chief operating of the next level people have to take your leader goals and example of what they want to drive industry to the next level. So what would be the CEO's priorities given that the CEOs have those? One is, can I transform my business to digital transformation? Digital transformation is not just a word called digital transformation. What can you improve your organization? How can you make your enterprise to be algorithmic business? How can you improve the experience? It's not an evolution. Improving 10% is an evolution. You got to do better than that. That's a bet. That's the challenge that I have for CIOs, is they should challenge themselves and their teams to drive growth, business growth with the digital transformation. Similarly, they should improve experience drastically. Look at what Slack and Zoom have done. They have taken that to a next level, right? And that means to do these things, you have to stop investing in legacy solutions. You got to give up some things. You cannot say, I want to do this and this. So if you have $100, instead of saying I'll give 99 to legacy and I'll do $1 for this AI solution, then you're not doing any bets. Nor can you do enough to make a change. You have to do other way around. Give zero in 2020, next year as a budget. Cut down to by 90% your legacy solutions. Because AI and cloud are the two big trends going to continue to be evolved next 5 to 10 years. The sooner you make a bet, sooner you get started to help your business, you will drive the shareholder value and consumer value. If you see the another study done by Gartner, what it says is, what are the top reasons why organizations are planning to adopt AI? Actually, the top two are the business agility, to improve the agility, to grow the business fast, and the customer experience. It's no longer AI is for cost saving. AI is not for automation. That was maybe 2-3 years back. In 2019, as they go talk to all the CIOs and all the customers, the top two reasons are same as what Gartner and all these vendors are saying out there, is agility, that is I want to be my business to be fast, agile and grow fast, and improve my customer experience and user experience. Now, to do that, you need a new experience for customers. What would be the new experience for customers will be? They have to be driven through, it has to be simple, fast, it has to be engaging. It should not be like the old search. Even the Google search is not a new experience. If I ask you a solution, if you type something and give you an article, that's not an experience. Ask me to go read an article. So the new customers are new consumers, millennials, everybody is expecting this because this is what they're getting at consumer services. So that is the new thing they will expect in the enterprise, right? So in a way, the AI is actually, I call it, it's fueling the customer obsession. Customers are obsessed. The reason AI is going well, it's not just a market share or it's about the buzzword that's going on in the industry. People are obsessed because the customer obsession. If you want to learn about your users, you want to know what your users are doing, what their interests are, you want to do behavioral analysis, you want to do targeting, you want to do recommendations, you want to understand the profile of your users, you need AI. The more you are obsessed about your customers, the more you need AI. So this is going to be the fundamental core of every business, unless you don't want your customer. If you're not interested in what your customer is doing, then you know what, you don't need AI. You already know what it is. So if you take this thing to the next level, so if you look at the customer expectations, again, various studies have shown it. People are actually going to pay more for customer experience than price. I have not heard that in 5 years back or even 2 years back. People are saying that if you give me good experience, I'm going to pay you more money, Mr. Vendor. That never happened in the enterprise for last 20, 30 years. Not only that, they're willing to pay, they expect to be, every customer are expecting every service to be online now, and they're willing to pay more for online experiences. And they actually want to pay more to get a better brand experience too. So if I am as a user can improve my company's brand using your services, they're willing to pay you more as a vendor. So it's across the board, even the compute, network, storage, SaaS, across IT cloud. So anywhere you can improve the experience, that will drive the customers B2B or B2C businesses to improve their brand, they're willing to pay you more. That trend hasn't happened ever. So this is one of those unique times the inflection is happening in terms of experience, right? So taking again some more data on the same thing, trying to show what percent of buyers will pay more for better experience. It's not 1%, 2%. All these Gartner studies are showing and various industry studies are showing people are willing to pay, 86% of the buyers are willing to pay more for better experience, right? And I actually do a nice voting, and I wish we could do this in BrightTALK here as a webinar, but this is like an engaging discussion. What type of conversation people think can be automatable? Do you think it's common Q&A task? Do you think workflows and repeatable tasks are more common to automate? Is it rare question and answers? Is it rare workflows? Which of these four quadrants do you think is most easy to automate? And which percentage can be done? And where it's happening today? If you think of it, these four categories of all tasks and common and conversation that people have. It turns out that 85% of the conversation, if you can see, are in the area of common workflows and tasks. So you don't have to go to the extreme complex one. That is, if you focus 85% of your common tasks of any business, whether it's supply chain, whether it is your BPM, whether it's a customer request, whether it is your security, whether it is to IT operations, the common 85% tasks are highly common tasks that can be automatable and you can get the benefit out of that. Now, so what does it mean, the task automation? So take RPAs, which used to be the old screen scraping algorithms where people try to use robotic process automation, try to do professional services driven approach. That has now become what I call a autonomous or autonomic platform to cognitive computing to AI driven operations. Every business, if you want the business to be algorithm, every business needs to run AI driven operations. These operations are not just IT operations, I'm talking the business operations. And this evolution is going to happen across the board, both back office, front office, your core IT operations, everything needs to be driven wherever there's a human, you must see, can you automate this human task so that he or she can do something better. They can become program manager, they can become product manager, they can become marketer, they can become CEOs. There's no reason to do a common repetitive task which are 85% done through a human being. If you don't do it, somebody else will do it. To that level, the best way to achieve autonomous enterprise again is, first is create a conversational interface. Before you do anything else, you need to get the heart and mind and the pulse of your consumer and the user. And that's not going to happen with some kind of a surveys, that won't happen through emails, that won't happen with some kind of a portals. That is 20-year-old. You are in 2019. This is the fourth industrial revolution. It has to be dialogue. It has to be conversational driven AI. It has to be task and work, actions and automation should be fully automated with RPAs. Right? Take the RPA to the next level. That needs to get automated. Right? Same thing, cloud services. I talked AI system of experience. All the cloud and SaaS applications will become driven through system of experience, not system of record. So to that extent, the new technologies that we are seeing today in workplace will fully automate, or to some extent, majority of them will automate all the manual tasks that we are doing today, all of us are. Now, there's one more interesting slide that I want to mention to you here that will be interesting for you, which is, do you want this to be reactive or proactive? So it turns out that even the customer service, most users that we talk to, according to Gartner studies too, is they don't want to be reactive. I don't want to wait for you to have a problem. I should be telling you, as a service provider, as a business operator, what requests you will have, what problems you will face as a user and consumer, as a business user. So every operation has to become proactive and predictive. Don't be reactive. To that extent, does the AI have quantifiable ROI? I actually asked that solution. Okay? So it turns out that any solution does not give you these type of metrics on day one. So if an AI solution comes to gives you 10%, 20%, 25, 35%, that means they actually fail in I call a minimum viable solution. If you implement a good AI and if you have a good ground truth, you should be getting at 40 to 75%. In a year, the rate of automation in your organization should be at high 75%. It's not even good enough for autonomous car to be 99% autonomous driving. It has to be that level of, for enterprise IT, 75% is good enough to start in a year from now. It can't be lower than that. Now, finally, if you look at the ROI examples, people are willing to get 10x to 90x improvements from satisfaction to cost saving to business uptime improvement, applying the AI. And that's the ROI they're expecting. So if you offer anything less, then it's not a 10x improvement. That won't shift the bar enough. Now, finally, every business, as I said, is reinventing itself and to build it for next generation. To do that, if you leverage AI and ML at its core, you will take it to the next level. So with this, I say this is an era where I call it, if you guys are watching the Games of Thrones, think of it like games of AI. Who is going to be next going to be on the AI throne? It will be a totally different ball game next 5 years, next 10 years. Every year this Games of Thrones will happen. And the new players will emerge and the new leaders will take over the throne. And that's the games of AI. Let's begin. With this, I'm going to pause and give my hand off to Girish.
Okay. Thanks, Mudhu. Hey, just stop screen share, and then I will see if I can share my screen. Don't end presentation.
Stop screen.
Done.
How is it, Girish? Are you able to go?
Okay.
I stopped it.
Yeah, let me do that now. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Folks, let me know if you can see my screen. Mudhu, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Folks, I hope you can see my screen. Otherwise, just let me know, and I will modify it. So, Mudhu talked about digital transformation. This is real. It's happening in a big way. More than $1 trillion was spent last year itself on this. Unfortunately, a big chunk of it, just like M&As, most of the acquisitions don't generate or meet the value expectations they do. Similarly, digital transformations also, a big chunk of it, doesn't really meet the objectives, unfortunately. And no wonder it is one of the top concerns, especially for CIOs and CEOs in terms of enterprises today. So there are some best practices that not a whole lot of people often follow, but I think people should. Number one that we all forget to do is that anything that we do should be driven by the overarching business strategy. We don't do it just because the technology is cool. We do it because the business case is very strong. Mudhu talked about ROI. We need to also tie that to the business strategy that would generate it. The second thing that best practice people talk about here is not just bring in outside consultants, but rather use the knowledge and the capabilities of people that are within the enterprise. That will make sure that the learnings continue over time. And it's not that a bunch of consultants come in and they do their thing, and after that again we are back on square one, right? And the third thing that we should also do, enterprises should do, is essentially the customer experience from outside in. Again, customers here could be the company's enterprises customers, or for the IT department it could be the business unit that may be their customers. But that has to be the driving factor in terms of their experience. And Mudhu talked a lot about experience, and that is key to all of this. I think any transformation should account for that. It has to be aligned with it. It has to be teed up very well. Otherwise, the results of the digital transformation would be dismal. And the fourth thing is, when you go and tell employees that we're going to automate this function, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is, does that mean I'm going to lose my job? So you need to be upfront about, what it means. In many cases, in fact, experts differ on this. When AI comes into play, it's not that jobs get eliminated, right? It's just that certain repetitive things that people don't want to do or don't like to do are going to be taken over by AI. At times, employees may have to retool themselves or retrain themselves. So the more we are open and recognize it, and we have an open conversation with people, then it's better for everybody. In fact, people are open to getting retrained, and if the enterprise is supportive of that, that can really result in a much better stuff. And finally, it's also about bringing like a Silicon Valley culture into the company, continuous development, agile methodology, being open to trying new things. Lots of great ideas nowadays and has been coming out of startups. Large enterprises are often risk averse to working with startups. But if you are very carefully, with a calculated risk, you can adopt this technology while minimizing the risk. So it is very important to have this. Otherwise, the transformation that happens will not be a real transformation, but an incremental change, right? McKinsey, put out this set of capabilities. In fact, there are about 7 capabilities identified here when you do a transformation. One is the overall architecture, the overall architecture for which one is going to do has to have a very, very complete business case, right? So you don't do an architecture because it serves a part of what you're trying to do, but rather it is the foundation from which things can be put on or added as the journey begins. A transformation journey is not a one-week journey, right? It is years in the making, at least. And then the data build out, right? The type of data lakes, the type of data warehousing, the type of analytics tools, the type of governance mechanism with those data, very important to put that in place so that as you keep adding new data sets, as you keep processing new things, the underlying foundation is strong. It can withstand any of the different use cases that may arise over time. And then the key thing that we have to consider is it has to be a joint IT and business unit methodology for all of this. If you build it in isolation, it may be a complete misfit when it comes to the business unit if you're part of IT, and vice versa, right? So it has to be fleshed out as a joint mechanism. And the other thing that Muddu touched on this quite a bit is the customer journey. When you have a conversational interface, which is how customers interact. Slack is becoming more and more used by people nowadays. The new generation doesn't use email, but actually use collaboration tools like Slack. So the customer, what are the channels customers are using? What are their preferred methods? All that has to be taken into account while this journey is on. And then, of course, the cognitive automation aspect. This is where the AI piece, what is being automated, what is the cognitive value add, etc., has to be done as well. Then finally, complexity is not something that we shy away from or we fight, but rather it is something that we have to embrace and then find a way to deal with it and address it instead of the other way around, right? So what is happening? We are entering a very, very complex enterprise environment, right, in every aspect. Lots of CEOs, majority of them are saying that the digital performance is becoming hard to measure. In order to really do a digital transformation, you got to be able to measure it, the key metrics, the key KPIs. That's when you can manage it, you can improve it, and then you also know that you're in the right direction. IT environment is very complex. Applications are touching so many components. Nowadays with REST APIs and the new methodology, every application is getting integrated with every other application. So when you do a transaction, it is passing through a number of different systems, and that makes it much harder to track, troubleshoot, and optimize, right? And a lot of the IT resources are now spending a bulk of their time in terms of addressing the performance problems. So all this is non-value add, all this is counterproductive, and an IT operations methodology ought to be designed and set up in the right manner, right? So what are some of the pieces of the IT operations management or what is now called AI operations, right? So ITOM, IT operations management. This is where you're essentially ensuring that all your infrastructure, your applications, and the process and services and performance of them are monitored, right, and managed. ITSM, IT services management. This is when you are using previous historical data, and then you're leveraging that to ensure that things don't get repeated again, right? So there's a learning that comes out of observing a lot of historical data. APM, applications performance monitoring or management. This takes it to the next level, where not only that it's monitoring, but also it provides alerts It provides periodic reporting mechanism, dashboards, and so on, right? Of course, we are moving on to AI ops or AI services management nowadays, in which case, in addition to all of this, you are providing insights on the operational aspects. And then these insights are helping human beings make the right decisions in this environment. And these ought to be actionable, and these ought to be there when you need it and where you need it. And I'm going to talk about extending this paradigm a little further, right? And in all of these cases, it is not replacing any human experience or human decision making, but rather augmenting that. And that's the key to all of this. You find that it's not that we are replacing humans and replacing them with AI at this point at all. In fact, humans play a much even more important role in this new environment. Let me go to the next slide. So in terms of, there are multiple teams. When you look at the operations teams, you have the DevOps teams, you have the IT ops teams, and then most business units have their own business operations teams, right? And they all have to work in tandem. They all have different priorities. They all have different metrics by which they're measured. But the ultimate goal for all of them is aligned, right? They want to make sure that everything is working. Their customers, whether they are employees or whether they are customers for the company, they are getting uninterrupted use of the application and so on. So they want a broader unified view, and the trends that are happening also include AI ML adoption. As Muddu pointed out, not every CIO has jumped on this bandwagon, but this trend is very much there as well. And root cause analysis, RCA in short, has become very important in all of this. It's no longer enough to just put a Band-Aid on the problem, but to go and diagnose what really caused the problem so that it doesn't repeat, that we can fix the underlying areas where this happened. And the trend is RCA, root cause analysis, has to be an inherent part of any AI ops or IT ops journey, right? And then customer experience, how they perceive it, how do they feel it, how do they do that, and monitoring that so that you can improve customer experience. That is a key enabler of competitive differentiation and a competitive advantage for the company. So it all comes down to this, and the more we can measure it, the more we can monitor it, and the more we can find ways to improve it, that's what will get us. And the deployment ease with which I was talking about Silicon Valley culture, it's all about deploying new features. Why is Google and why is Netflix and why is Slack or why is Zoom very popular? Because they can roll out new features very, very quickly. They try it out and then it comes out, just like what Uber does, right? So where we want to go from here is what I call, or what many of us call, a self-healing enterprise, right? So the time has come where it's no longer that we have to go as human beings, as operations people, to go find out what the issues are, and then determine how we fix it. But rather, we are at a point where the technology is mature. The enterprise, the systems, ought to know by themselves before a problem happens, right? So the vision is essentially automatically we need to be able to find out and get those problems resolved. So the objectives with all of that is user experience goes up significantly, so we don't see any downtime. And we are also optimizing resources. Oftentimes, you may not be optimizing resources. In fact, capacity planning and forecasting has become a big component of this, because it is no longer the case that you can throw bandwidth at the problem or server at the problem or load balancer at the problem. It is very expensive. If you're not able to optimize these resources, especially when demand can fluctuate quite a bit, and that happens for every industry. In the retail industry, for Alibaba, for example, or Chinese retailers, on Singles Day, the traffic just goes through the roof. Similarly, on Black Friday, here the day after Thanksgiving, right? So they need to plan for that. They don't have to have that much capacity that was in place before. Same thing with every single part of the IT resource infrastructure environment as well. And it has to leverage extensive AI/ML models. I'll talk a little bit about it in a couple of slides from now. And you have to build these capabilities. One is it's no longer enough to be reactive, but we need to move from that to a more of a predictive and even a preventive environment, right? So before the stuff hits the fan, we need to know that it is going to happen, and then you go fix it. Number two is you use information from before. It's no longer that you use all the information. It's not big data. It is smart data. We need to be able to find out what is the information that is relevant. Let's take that and not use things that are not so relevant or may even have a complete redundant value add to this, right? The third is be aware of the situation. This is where seasonality things, when configuration conflicts happen, or when you're actually changing different software versions, etc. It is important to know what is the situation and then adjust the predictive capabilities and the preventive capabilities accordingly. And then finally, it's all about being able to remediate automatically. And in order to remediate automatically, you need to explain why did we do this. You cannot just say that I actually changed the configuration. I added an extra server without explaining clearly why that is, and with a clear buy-in for the stakeholders and the people with the budget in this case, right? And then it has to be autonomous. So being autonomous is extremely key going forward. The typical IT networks, typical enterprise has 150,000 applications. It is virtually impossible for somebody to go in and keep checking on things. So it has to come back to us. It has to assist the human beings. It has to tell us what is going on before we do this. Right? So in order to go from a vision of a self-healing enterprise to reality, I think we got to go through multiple steps. We had to take, I wouldn't call it baby steps, but large leaps here. So step one, monitoring. We should be able to monitor every aspect of the infrastructure and the application environment. That is key, and the technology is very much there, right? In terms of analytics, in order to combine what we monitor, we need to be able to make sense of what we are gathering from that, and maybe even get a subset of that, and then also push up what we find out from that into logs, alerts, and all that dashboard kind of environment, right? Number three, we need to automate, which means once you figure out that you need to do an action, the network, the environment, the IT infrastructure, the application framework ought to be automatable, which means we can push a particular policy, and that should be able to go through, check the right governance, check identities, check privileges, touch the right places, and that all should be that should be able to do that in its own right. And then of course the last piece of the most important piece that where we are getting to is self-healing. So the first three pieces are very much there today, and what we are pushing towards is making it autonomic. That means things happen subconsciously. In this case, it understands, it knows, and then it makes it happen, right? Tall order, but the pieces are very much there today, and if we can do this right, we will not only make a digital transformation a reality, but we will also ensure that every enterprise operates not with a meta type salesperson sitting around sharpening their pencils, but rather the folks are able to use their expertise to make decisions, make the right decisions, and also are able to lift the enterprise into the next level as well. So where are we in terms of AI/ML to do this? I think AI/ML is very mature. If you look at the amount of algorithmic and models that have come into play, Muddu talked about a number of use cases there. All of them, have been the result of tremendous research that happened over the last 50 years, and exponentially more in the past 5 or 6 years. supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, which plays a big role in this self-healing aspect, because for a particular enterprise, what we are doing and what the human decision-making elements that has to feed back and make it into more of a reinforcement environment. Lots of deep learning frameworks that are in play. You can read all about it. This is the most hottest area of research today and hottest area of applications today. And then thanks to the cloud, public cloud infrastructures and computing power, storage power, the networking speeds, we can do tons and tons of data. We can crunch through them. We can train models, and then we can make inferences out of it, really, really well. So with the ability to do auto-discovery, the ability to do quality and relevance of data, the ability to, and currently you find tons of monitoring tools which can monitor every single item that you need to. And then using real-time data as well as combining it with the historical elements, which is key, by the way. It's no longer sufficient to use historical data, but you got to kind of use a real-time thing to come up with the right inference. And then understanding the situation, understanding seasonalities, understanding the trends, and then constantly learning from this. We can really make IT ops into an autonomic environment, create tremendous economic value, make sure that any transformation aspect generates and exceeds the value that they had in mind, and make everybody's life easy and happy. So with that said, I would love to open up for Q&A. And Muddu, I don't know if you saw any questions pop up or not. We do plan to do this as multiple webinars that we want to address other topics as well going forward, which are of interest, especially in the AI field. I don't see too many questions here. Muddu, you have anything else to add to our awesome audience?
No, I think you did a pretty good closing. I think you covered very well the IT operations evolution and leading to self-healing, etc. But from a journey of where we are, from IT operating DevOps, there's so much new maturity in AI ML for every organization to take advantage. So I think it's good. So let's open up to the audience to ask any questions. If not, it was great doing this session with you and the team.
Terrific. So folks, I don't see too many questions here. If you have any, why don't we give a couple minutes. If you have any questions, please do type into that screen there, and then we can address it. But we are very excited about this field. We see incredible applications. We see a lot of exciting and hard problems to solve. But the industry is converging, research is converging, and we're able to put pen to paper at this point.
All right, thank you, folks. It was a pleasure speaking with all of you guys. Have a good evening, and we'll be in touch with you hopefully in the next few months again with another second and third part of this BrightTALK AI experience webinar. Thank you all. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.